Hey guys, Neffertity here. So, some of you may know that I posted a little poll, or a journal rather, on my DeviantArt a few days ago, and I asked you guys if you would like me to rate your characters on what I think of their aesthetic designs. Well, I got a lot more feedback than I had anticipated, so I figured I would go ahead and make a video. It's probably going to take a couple of videos to do this, which I'm more than happy to do for you guys. And this is basically just going to be me giving my input and my opinions on what I think of your guys' character designs and just the aesthetic appeal of them, color choices, originality, that sort of thing. I have to reiterate this. Please do not take any of my criticism negatively. This is purely my opinion. If you don't agree with me, that's perfectly fine. That's part of what makes everybody unique in their own original ways, and I respect that. If you would like me to critique your OC, I'd be more than happy to. You can either leave a link to them in the description of this video, or you can leave one on my DeviantArt page. Whatever you'd like me to do, I will leave a link in the description for you guys if you need that, if you're coming from my YouTube side. This is all just good fun. So without any further ado or rambling, let's go ahead and just jump right into the video. So first off, we have kind of a 2-for-1 here. This was drawn by a friend of mine, and it looks like we have the Saheed twins and Orman are these characters' names. The first impression, I love the color palettes. This is a good example of taking a very neutral base tone between the blacks and the browns and then pulling it out by using the beautiful blues and a little bit of the purples in there. Those are good colors to use as blenders because they have such a wide variety in the color spectrum. Originality-wise, these characters are just, 10 out of 10. Easily 10 out of 10. The originality is through the roof here. I have never seen anything like this anywhere else, and that's usually what this person does. They come up with some really original and unique designs that I've not seen anywhere else. They are truly one-of-a-kind, unique originals, and I love that. Design-wise, it is a little confusing, but I think that's somewhat the intent because they're supposed to be aliens or monsters, so it kind of fits because they are supposed to be a little bit bizarre and weird. The cybernetic textures really make the whole appearance pop, especially on the second one, Orman. On Saheed, it's a little bit more simple because it's just on the wings like that, and it's a really simple gradient that just kind of blends out. But on Orman, with all those bright, brilliant blues and the stark colors, the way that they blend out like that, it is intense, but it's done so in a beautiful way. I really like, out of the two, I like Orman much better. The design is just, it's super cool. It's original looking. I love the color palette and the way that it's laid out with those creepy long arms and like the tattered clothing on the side. That's just super cool. I quite enjoy it. It's hard to tell if it's an organic or an artificial life form, which is really cool. I enjoy that concept. Whereas for Saheed, the design is super chaotic looking. There's like 3 legs. There's a sort of centipede face on the butt. There's weird little tentacles or tubes or something and 2 faces. And it's very complicated and it's hard to tell what exactly is going on. In the description, they say it is a big death bird and a brain in a jar. Unusual, but I like it. Very good. I would give these characters probably an 8.5 out of 10. They are really cool, and I do like the designs. The colors are really good. Originality is through the roof. But the Saheed twins are a tad confusing what's going on, but it can be done in a good way, I suppose. Let's go ahead and move into the second character in my list. Okay, so the first impression of this character is very nice and neutral color palette. Neutrals are always really good to work with, especially if they're done well, because you can pull color pops really good and they're not intense on the eyes. Speaking of intense eyes, These are some of the brightest stark blue eyes I have ever seen. This is crazy. They are very, very bright compared to everything else in this character, so that's rather unique. The overall aesthetic design, it is a very floofy creature. It's hard to tell exactly what the species is, and it doesn't say in the reference sheet, it just says unknown. It appears to be a dragon, but at the same time not. Like, it's got a wolf deer-esque nose and deer horns and big ears. But the feet suggest either a carnivorous predator, especially with the sharpness of those teeth. And there are omnivorous teeth in the back I can see there. So it is an omnivore of sorts. I like the way that the front feet are scaled. The tail is a little confusing. The red piece looks kind of like it's a fabric wrap, and then that little piece on the end there, the two different grays, I can see it says knife in the color palettes. So that's a knife, but it's got the same fur that's on the body growing out of it. So is it like bonded to it, or is it just tied on there? Is the tip of the tail like... is that where the fur is coming out of? Is on the tip of the tail, and then it's just the knife is sort of tied on there with the band? It's a tad confusing, but that's about the only thing on there that I don't totally understand right off the bat. I mean, all in all, originality, probably a 8 out of 10. The character is fairly original, and I like the design, and the color choices are really nice with the neutrals in there and those bright eyes. The tail is a little confusing, and it kind of takes away from it, but other than that, it's still pretty good. Good color palette, good original design. The markings are unique. They've got a very swirly, sort of spiky pattern, almost tribal-esque. All in all, I'd say it's pretty unique. I quite enjoy this character, just the tail's a little confusing. And whom do we have next? A character named Slade. Oh, okay. Wow, that is a lot of detail. Right off the bat, that is a lot of detail. It has a very panther-esque feel, maybe tiger, because of the way that the plating is laid. I can't tell if that's plating or like maybe crackles in the skin, or maybe it's cybernetic. It does come off as being very cybernetic with all the glowy eyes, and then that spine. That spine is crazy. That is like super duper glow in the dark spine right there. And it has a very mechanical-esque feel. The hands are interesting. They look almost like dragon talons, whereas the feet are more like feline paws. So it's kind of a blend, and then you've got those really bright feather plumage coming out of the top, which suggests that this is more of an organic creature. But the whole aesthetic of the body kind of comes off more as cybernetic. It's a little confusing whether it is cybernetic or organic, or maybe it's like a cyborg or something. Like it's a fusion of both. Cyborg, android. I don't know the difference. I'm so bad. No, androids are purely robots. Cyborgs are both. Yeah, that's right. The color palette is a common one. It's like a very fiery red and orange mixed in there with a bit of the yellows and the glow aesthetic, and then it's got the really dark black of the body. It comes off as a very fiery color palette, but it's a good color palette. I enjoy it. Originality-wise, I would probably give this character... I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. It's original in the aspect of I've not seen anything with this level of like cybernetic sort of detail on it, nor have I seen cats with feathers on their heads. So that by itself makes it kind of unique, but at the same time, it's the sort of panther with feathers. So it's not entirely that crazy and outlandish, but it is overall cool. I like the color palette. It's a good choice for this character. I feel it gives it a very intimidating presence, especially with those just pupilless glowing eyes. That is intense. My only real note is that it is hard to tell if the body is cybernetic or organic. because it does kind of have both. But other than that, all in all, I really like this character. I like the design of it and the aesthetic. This would be a very intimidating character to run into anywhere. And next up, we have Rena. This is a character that belongs to a good friend of mine, and I've drawn her a couple times. Matter of fact, I'm the one that drew this reference sheet. Right off the bat, Rena does have a bit of a simplistic design. She is a dragon with horns, plates on her belly, spikes, and wings. That's pretty generic, but it's not done in a bad way. There's no such thing as a... Well, I can't quite say that. There's no such thing as a bad character design, but there are simple ones. And this is very simple and somewhat generic because of her just simple navy blue body. I mean, she has no markings. The only real defining feature that jumps out immediately is the big tear in her wing, which, knowing a bit of history about the character, that tear does not inhibit her ability to fly because of how it was cut. I don't exactly know how, but design-wise, at first glance, if you have no knowledge of it, it comes off as being like a big scar, and you think, oh, there's no way this character is going to fly without significantly injuring themselves. So it does kind of take away because of the placement of it and how big it is. It seems like this character can't fly, but she can. So it's kind of weird. I like the way that her frame is designed. She is a very simple character, but it's done so in a good way. Like, her simplicity, it's a blank canvas to work with. And this canvas can be expanded in so many different ways. I mean, this character's backstory can just be so incredible and amazing, and nobody would be any wiser. I mean, this is like a diamond in the rough, I guess you could say. That's the best way to put it. It's a character that most people will just look away because, it doesn't look that interesting. There's nothing that really jumps out as unique or special. But you never know. This may be one of those crazy cool characters that has an insane backstory. Maybe she's got some awesome powers. Who knows? You wouldn't know until you talk to her. And it's sort of that facade of hiding in plain sight. And I rather like that with her design. The only other thing I have to say about her is that her tail tip is a little confusing with the way that it is designed, and having drawn it, it sort of looks like it's artificially just kind of stuck on the top there. Like, it's not part of her body. There's nothing else on her that is quite that same shade of blue as her tail tip. So I can't tell if it's artificial or not. It is not sharp and can be bended easily. So it's sort of a flexible tail that's like just stuck on there. That's about the only part that really kind of takes away. Other than that, she's a pretty simple character, but done so in a good way. Originality-wise, I would probably have to give her maybe a 4 out of 10, because she is just a blue dragon with wings. I mean, there's no real features that jump out as being truly original, but the originality is probably in her story, and that's fine. Everybody does their own thing, and this is a cool way of doing it, I suppose. I like her colors. The navy blue is a really pretty shade, and blue in general is just, it's a cool color to work with. There's a color wheel joke in there somewhere about being cool. I like the coolness of the color and the variety that it gives artists the ability to work with, as well as the simplicity of her design, which makes her fairly easy to draw, which is a good thing. So all in all, it's a cool character design. The tail tip's a little odd, but it's still good. And the last character that I'm going to do today is Elf. This character's name is Elf. It is a green dragon. I don't see very many green dragons these days. It seems to be such a generic color that you just don't see them anymore. And this is a gorgeous shade of green. I mean, this is like emerald green. Beautiful. First impressions are, this is a really, really elegant and beautiful dragon. I I really like the way that the markings are done here, especially on the face and the wings. Like, they pop so well with that little bit of that blue fade coming through on the bottom like that. And then you've got those stark white lines. I mean, that is gorgeous. I really, really like that. The hair gives a sort of like Eastern feel to it, and that's super cool. I like Eastern dragons. I like the way that their fur is laid out. The nose is super sharp on this character. Like, it's almost beak-like, and that's kind of interesting. You don't really see that very often apart from like old classical paintings of dragons. That's about the only place that I've ever really seen that sharp hook-like face on a dragon. And the horns are gorgeous. I like how far back they go and the way that they've got that texture to them. They are super unique. I've not seen a combination of that sort of plated texture with the almost like a ram horn kind of underside on there. I like that. I think that's pretty unique. Uniqueness in terms of this character, I would have to easily give them a 9 out of 10 because this is a super unique design. I like the way that the colors are laid out. I like the markings especially. They are real pretty. They're not overpowering, and they blend in with the color scheme good, which brings me to my second point, which is the color scheme itself. Really, really well done. This is a good use of natural, organic tones here with the blues and the beautiful greens that are all blended together just so nicely. And then you've got that nice color pop between the white. White is such a hard color to work with because it is so stark compared to everything else around it unless you're working with pastels. But this is really well done. I quite enjoy the design of this character and the aesthetic of it. Originality wise, I've got to give this character easily a 9 out of 10. I mean, this is cool. I really like the design. It's really unique. I've not seen anything quite like it other than it's green, and green is a color that you tend to see very often with dragons in folklore, but it's done really well here. This is a brilliant shade of that green. The eyes are beautifully golden, which helps to take away from the whole design. I like the horns. It's kind of cool the way the spikes on the back of the neck stick through the fur. It's like the fur makes it seem all elegant, and then you've got those spines, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, this is a dragon. Holy crap, these are spiky. It's well done. I rather enjoyed this character's design. It's very original. It's got a really pretty color palette, and just all in all, I like this character. This is very nice. And there we go. That was my first take on this sort of rate my OC thing. If you would like me to rate yours, please just leave a link in the description, or you can comment on my DeviantArt journal or on my front page. It doesn't matter to me. I would be more than happy to give my input, and for those that I did review, I want to thank you guys so much just for taking part in this and allowing me to see all these beautiful characters. I love seeing characters and seeing character designs. It's one of my most favorite things in life, is just seeing what kind of imaginations there are out there. No two people think exactly alike, and I think that's spectacular, and I love to see your characters. Your art style, your art ability, your lack of said ability, it makes no difference whatsoever to me. I just like to see what you're able to come up with. Even if it was something like you ordered a custom from somebody else and you bought the adoptable custom. I want to see what you can come up with. So I want to thank you again so much for taking part in this if you did, and thank you guys for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day and a spectacular life.